Hello and welcome to the final race review of 2025. Massive comeback. Right, we've banned him from talking this episode, if anyone's wondering where he is. He's not allowed to talk until I finish this intro. Yeah! Go away somewhere. I don't even know where he's gone. Anyway, well done to Lando Norris. Deserved it, I suppose, throughout the year. Mad Max goes, king of Abu Dhabi, innit? And Ferrari have finally turned up for the 2025 season. So come on, let's have it. So anyway, this is VFL.
Hello, everybody. I have got that out of my system. I am calm. I am just one more. Yay! I don't even know where to start. I mean, that has got to be the most stressful hour and 45 minutes or whatever of my entire life.
Was that worse than Jensen?
No, because do you know what? Yeah, because I think if Lando would have not done it today, you could have only blamed him. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Whereas Jensen, they just obviously couldn't develop that car in 2009 and blah blah blah. So like, it would maybe have been more understandable for him to not win it. I mean, one thing I will say, and we said this on the Qatar episode last week. Fair play to everybody, because there was points during 2025 that we thought this was going to be the most boring season in a very, very long time. We even said what a horrible season to start doing this YouTube channel, because there was nothing to talk about. And we finished with, obviously for me more than and a lot of McLaren and Lando Norris fans, like that. What a way to finish the season. So I mean, I don't know what you want to necessarily unpick. I'm
finding it difficult. Let's take allegiances aside. All right, I'm not anti McLaren by any stretch. I've got the Senna Lego that sits behind me. I appreciate that McLaren are integral to Formula One, almost as much as Ferrari are. Okay, there is no bias, there is no grudge. If we were against each other for the championship, that might have been different. Yes, I sided with Verstappen, but I genuinely believed anyone driving the underdog car deserved a bit of backing, And he said this week, didn't he, that he needs to find some new enemies because all his enemies have become his lovers with the Verstappen thing. And so I'd say the best man deserved it. The man with the most points deserves to be the champion. Lando is that person. He is world champion. Lando Norris is world champion. I'll say that again just so Anthony hears it. Any of those three, I think, would have deserved it. That's the weird one this year.
100%.
I feel like there's two losers, not one winner. And that, again, I'm not trying to take anything away from Norris. This isn't me coming on to beat Lando Norris and the fans. I've got no interest. I've got no appetite. He's a world champion. He gets treated with the respect of a world champion. I just feel like there's two losers because they all drove incredibly well. That's the thing. There wasn't a single mistake this weekend from any of them.
I think the one thing you will... I wanted to touch on that, actually, about all three. The one thing I will say, and I will go back onto that point I was going to make. The one thing I will say, Max Verstappen's already got 4, and he will. No. I'm not saying it for that reason. My point being, as a crumb of comfort for him, Max Verstappen's already got 4, and he will inevitably win another. Like that Red Bull, he has been magnificent for in the running. Oscar Piastri has proved today, and we've said this all season, there's been a couple of points where he's made a little bit of mistake. Azerbaijan comes to mind specifically, but there's a few moments where he's maybe made errors. But today he drove expertly. I expected him to be a little bit quicker on the mediums when he did come in, but he still closed that gap down, quite considerably. So Oscar Piastri will be a world champion, and because I am, as you can expect, I'm going to give a lot of Lando Norris love in today for considering what's happened, but Oscar Piastri has proved once again today that he will be a world champion. And like you said, it's a shame because 2 of those 3 great drivers from at different points this season had to lose today. And unfortunately, it's Max and Oscar. But like I say, the crumb of comfort, Max has got 4. Oscar will 100% win one. He's 24. I think the only things that we've maybe seen, he's got age on his side, is my point. And I think there's maybe been a couple of moments where experience has kind of been his downfall a little bit. That's not a criticism. I'm just saying he'll use this, and providing the cars, McLaren aren't all of a sudden the worst car on the grid, he will be in contention for next year, 100%.
Yeah. I mean, it's that tricky point next season. They might as well all be driving shopping trolleys. We don't know how people are going to turn up. We've got an inkling of an idea that Ferrari will be behind because it's a new regulation. But and we've only just turned up to 2025 today.
Because I was watching that and I'm thinking to myself, that Ferrari has been absolutely god awful all year. I honestly felt karma was going to come back and sting me because I've mocked that car for the entire 10-month season, and then they had no qualifying pace. And when I was watching from the start, Verstappen got a little bit of a bad start, but he did well to cover off Norris. And then obviously Russell had a bad start too. And I thought the Russell bad start was key. No disrespect to Ferrari, but when I saw him drop that far back behind Alonso and Leclerc, as a Lando fan going into this, I was thinking, right, good, because that is probably the 4th best car, I would say, what we've seen so far from the weekend. The 4th best car is now out of contention. Not out of contention, but he's got to come back. And that's why I started to feel a little bit calmer. When Piastri got Norris as well, I was quite calm. Probably because Zach Brown was the calmest man in the world. That was the commentators were questioning whether that was predetermined. And then were you surprised? No. Oh, so you planned to do that? And I think some Oscar Piastri fans might argue that they shouldn't have left him out as long as he did because he obviously lost the undercut. I think he had to go for something, didn't he? He couldn't just match everybody else's strategy. He had to try something outside the box.
As soon as Lando was pitting for the second time, it didn't matter how long they left Piastri out for. I think he was always going to be ahead of Lando. So he hasn't lost out there. Nobody was getting near to Max today.
Yeah, no.
Nobody was getting near to Max today. I suppose before we go into picking a few details, we'll tick off a few boxes. Last of the Renault engines in Formula One.
Yeah, for now.
I think Gasly and Colapinto will be happy to see the back of them. To be fair, they're in Mercedes next year, so that'll be interesting.
Colapinto, the only he's obviously not scored a point this season. I heard a stat. They said something in qualifying. I don't know if it's like the only one this season who's had more than 2 races who's not scored a point. And I mean, it just goes to show why on earth what has he done to justify coming in ahead of Jack Doohan? You're right. And Alpine, I wonder if anybody, Flavio Briatore won't, because he's a insert naughty word here, but Flavio Briatore won't be bothered by this. But I wonder if there's anybody else at Alpine who just thinks, what was the point? May as well give him Jack Doohan the rest of the season, because that car's been a bin. And has Colapinto really proved he's much better than Jack Doohan? I don't know. But back to the season. Sorry, you were saying no more Renault engine.
No Sauber. Goodbye, Sauber.
Do you know what I will say? Sauber finished 9th. I haven't seen the finished tables, but I think by where everybody finished, they haven't finished bottom. One thing I will say about Sauber, to be fair, you obviously the pinnacle will be Hülkenberg's podium at Silverstone, obviously. Yeah. But I mean, that Sauber, we wrote that off. I think every Formula One fan wrote that off at the start of the season. And fair play to Sauber, like that's a cracking season from them. It is going to be a shame to no longer see them, but obviously the team will still be the team. It'll just be in, I assume, red and black next season for Audi. So fair play to Sauber. I thought they could have just absolutely thrown the towel in and just not bothered with anything this year. And they've got a good team actually. I do like the partnership of Hülkenberg and Bortoletto personally. No more Sauber.
Williams did it. Well, yeah, that's it.
The last ever DRS race. Well, for now, we'll see what happens with the new regs. Yeah, but the last race of the DRS era. Overall, on that, just a quick word on DRS before we carry on moving on through the things that we won't see again. Overall thoughts of the DRS era?
I think it's had benefits at certain tracks, and I think it's been absolutely pointless. It's either been too strong sometimes or too weak. And you know what? It was good when they could open it whenever they wanted in qualifying. You know, weird things like that, and then it got very prescribed. Probably for safety grounds because they started opening it in the tunnel in Monaco, didn't they, and things like that.
Yeah.
But I think it was a bit gimmicky, and I want overtaking to be pure, but it won't be pure next year. It's still going to be whether you've got mode
still aided,
mode 3 point. I mean, let's be honest. The modes that they're running next year sounds like Elon Musk's children's names.
Yeah.
So it's got to take some getting used to.
Yeah,
but I suppose with the FIA going on about people's attention spans being absolutely appalling nowadays, is that they want racing, they want overtaking, otherwise it's boring. Then you can have a really interesting race without any overtaking. And that kind of leads me on to the bit, as we were saying before, the nuisance with the number 16 on his car today. There wasn't an overtaking move made between him and Lando, but good God, that made for some racing. The fact that he was not letting him go.
No, do you know what? And it annoyed me actually because I thought to myself, you've had 23 races previous to this where you could have bothered to show up if you wanted to. You didn't. Yeah. And then on the one where, again, me personally, I don't want you to show up. I would have loved it if Charles Leclerc would have just held up the rest of the pack. But again, it's another for Ferrari. It's just another race in it where they genuinely looked. Them and Max probably had the most impressive race pace. Yeah, their qualifying pace was absolutely appalling. Again,
how many times have we said it though? I mean, let's sum up Ferrari's season before we move on to more interesting stuff. Ferrari's season is fails to flatter themselves constantly, cannot qualify for toffee, and then they're fast until the tyres go off. And chances are they're probably the fastest car on the track at certain points in a race. I mean, Leclerc, every time he put a new set of tyres on, Lando must have bricked it.
Well, other than when he just put the hards on, because he looked like he really struggled to get them on to temperature, didn't he? He looked like...
that invisible man turned up for 1 minute to whinge about something, didn't he? And then he vanished again for the rest of the race.
Speaking of whinging, because there was a lot of naughtiness this weekend. We obviously saw.
I know. Lando leaving the track to overtake.
Do you know? There was 2 moments in that race where I didn't feel comfortable. It was stressful, but there was 2 moments. And the best bit, I don't know if you caught this on qualifying. Bernie Collins, you are a hero. If you did this on purpose, you are a hero. If you didn't, you're still a hero because you did it anyway. Lando Norris had pitted first and he was just approaching Lance Stroll, and Bernie Collins said this is the most dangerous part of the race for Lando Norris. Now she went on to explain that there's a safety car that favours Verstappen and Piastri and all the rest and all the permutations, but it was just the fact he was approaching one of the crash twins and she went, it's dangerous this. But the thing is, it was. I was sat there going, oh no.
Well, he had to pass both the crash twins, didn't he? Because he had Tsunoda to take on. Now,
well, what are your thoughts on the Tsunoda? Because I'll do this in 2 parts. There's obviously there's the message from the pit wall to him that was explaining how far behind Leclerc was. I personally don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with that. It's of course a tactic. And Red Bull, we've seen in 2021 just go back to how Perez treated Hamilton. You're going to do that if it's going to help your team. So I haven't got a problem with that. I haven't got a problem with him holding him up through the slower sections and then obviously just letting him know basically if you can keep holding him up, then he's under pressure from Leclerc too. He's trying to help Max win the World Championship. Not a problem with that. Where I do have a massive problem, and I think this goes without saying, that weaving down that straight not only is it dangerous, but it's against the idea of the sport. And yeah, DRS will go next year, and that's another example where it's now just too strong DRS these days. And all the teams have figured it out. We get too many DRS trains, and it's just too strong on a track like Abu Dhabi. So I'm glad it's going. I think it served as well, but I'm glad it's going. But the way Tsunoda was weaving at that bit was it was too far. I understand that you're trying to help your teammate, but that's too much for me personally.
The radio messages are fine. I don't care.
Yeah, I agree.
I also don't mind Red Bull saying do all you can.
Yeah.
Because that must be understood and taken as just like in qualifying, push as hard as you can. That doesn't mean push yourself into a wall. It doesn't mean do all you can illegally or against the spirit of Formula One. So that's fine. I've got no problem with that. I don't believe Red Bull wanted Tsunoda to push Lando off the track.
No,
I don't believe for 1 second.
Even Zach Brown said it, didn't he? Zach Brown said that the Red Bull aren't the ones with the steering wheel. Like that's Tsunoda's taken. I'm with you. I actually do think Red Bull have said hold him up as much as you can. You have to force him really wide and whatever else. But to do it as dangerously as he did, it's too much. That
Red Bull pretty much said hold him up for half a second with the 1.4 seconds to Charles. That's them saying 4/10 is all we need. Bring Charles into play. That's all they're asking for. And it shows that they had Charles in their mind because Max was asking about him later on in the race. I have no problem. Here we go. This is where we could differ. I have no problem with the initial weaving. When Lando was still behind him and he's going like this down the straight, I don't mind that so much. It's when he gets alongside or Lando makes a move and approaches and he still keeps moving. That's my issue. Weave all you want. I actually think it's quite funny watching all these cars going like this after each other. It adds to the excitement. It's who's going to brave this. It's as long as one's alongside the other, you've got to pack it in.
Yeah.
And some will disagree with me and some will say you can only move twice. Yes, I know the rules. You can only move once and then you can move back to your position. I know the rules. What I'm saying is if Lando's just trying to get a slipstream and Tsunoda's trying to break it, so what? You're in front. You can choose whichever line you want.
If you go back to 21, Hamilton actually did that with Max. Was weaving. He was nowhere near as close as Norris was to Tsunoda on this occasion. And to be fair, I actually do agree with you. It's just when Lando gets to that point where he's in a position now he can make a move. Tsunoda's got to know that's
But that's the sticking point, and that's why the one move thing comes in. Is you can't see when someone's alongside your back wheel, and then so to keep weaving is dangerous. I appreciate the rules. I have no problem with the start bit where he's back and forth down the straight. It was exactly as soon as he got alongside or close enough that this could be a collision. Yeah, he was naughty, but I think he knew he was naughty, and what penalty, bro, was ridiculous. You know what you were doing.
Yeah, I know. Come on. Like, I understand. If he'd have said that radio message and just gone, all right, fair. Yeah. I'd have agreed. But come on, you know what you're doing there. And to be fair, do you know, I must admit, actually, we've praised Max for this weekend. I thought Max was absolutely outstanding all weekend again. I thought Piastri, considering he had to think outside the box,
he did all he could.
He did all he could. Yeah, I thought Piastri drove brilliantly. I think it's another one of them, and hindsight maybe tells them that they maybe tried a different strategy. Should have maybe tried a different strategy. I think with everything they had to them, they had to do what they did. And if I'm honest, I actually thought Lando today
very mature. Mature.
That is the calmest, sort of most mature performance I've seen from Lando Norris all season. I thought the start when he almost just let Max, he wasn't prepared to get himself in a tussle.
You know what I mean about that, by the way. When we got onto it, I'll let you finish your Lando thing. Then can we go back to the start?
Yeah, because I thought that was the way that he did that. I thought it was brilliant. The way that he didn't sort of battle Piastri, whether that was predetermined because of Piastri on the hards or something, I imagine it was, but he didn't argue that. And then when it came out to him having to do that pit stop to cover off Russell and Leclerc, some of the overtakes he did there, that dive up the inside of Antonelli in the Verstappen Hamilton corner, if you like, which maybe Lewis fans won't like me calling it that, but. So that move there. Then I mean, I loved how Leclerc followed him with the double overtake on Lawson and
green car, wasn't it? Was it not Stroll at the time?
Was it Stroll? Yeah, the double overtake, and then the fact that Leclerc just sort of followed him and did the exact same thing later. And you know what? I thought everybody, other than Lawson driving I can't remember what word, erratically, thank you. I actually didn't see that, so I don't know what he'd done. But I thought, other than that, I thought Lawson having a go back at Leclerc and Norris when they'd got past, I thought fair play, it's a race, you're absolutely allowed to do that. I thought everybody behaved, other than Yuki Tsunoda.
There was no yellow flags.
No, there wasn't. No, and they kept talking about what a safety car would do in this race at that moment, and we didn't, like you say, we didn't even have a yellow flag. Go on, what were you going to say on the start?
I mean, it set the precedent for the race, didn't it? And I think old Lando would have flapped because Max was pointing straight at him. Yeah. Let's be honest. Verstappen, even the way he set off for the formation lap, he was into turn one before anyone else had set off. Max was in the Max mood of, I'm here, come for me. Yeah, and the fact that he was pointing like this, so he was going straight across the front of Norris instantly. This was we're racing, but we're racing by my rules today.
Yeah.
And if you want to win the championship, you're not going past me.
You're not going to beat me. You're not going to beat me to do it. Yeah.
And that's very Max. We love Max for that. Sorry. Yeah, no, we do. All of us love the way Max drives. It's on the edge sometimes, but God, it's fun to watch. And that was brilliant. And a Norris of, I don't know, start of the season could have snatched a break, panicking that, this massive rear wing of this Red Bull's just appeared in your cockpit, which is pretty much how it looked on the camera.
Last year's Lando takes out his front wing there, I think.
So takes out his front wing or hits the brake too early and everyone floods past him or spins it coming out. Just something. It had triggered him. And this weekend, oh God, here we go, recording it. Well, I know we recorded this. Lando drove like a champion. Now, that's the last time I'll say this.
Yeah, he did. And do you know as well, like with that, because they kept saying it, and at the time I was nervous. I've been so nervous watching that entire race. But I think in hindsight, to give Lando Norris a little bit of credit, I even said to anyone who wanted to speak to me about Formula One this week, which, as you can imagine, hasn't been many because I'm annoying with it. But all I said was that he only had to do one thing. He can let Verstappen fly away. He can let Piastri fly away. He doesn't have to concern himself with them two. What he just has to concern himself with is, I actually said George Russell, and I think that's a fair assumption pre-race to think it was going to be Russell. All he had to do was keep whoever was fourth at bay. And there was a few times Leclerc got close and whatever else, and Lando, but even at that early stage, Lando didn't break from management. No. Because he heard the radio, they told him a couple of times, you don't have to manage as much as you are. And he was very much no, I'm playing the long game. I thought Lando Norris was incredibly calm today to say that, like you said, I, as a McLaren fan, I was not calm. I'm more than prepared to admit that right now. He was a lot calmer than anybody else. And I think he deserved to. It's a shame, I suppose, that it would have been interesting to see what he would have been like if he would have had to get second or he would have had to beat Max or something like that. But the bottom line is he didn't.
Or if Charles had got him.
Yeah.
No, don't get me wrong. I don't believe, and I am not, you know me, I'm a huge Ferrari fan. I love the team. But I'm not, I don't have rose-tinted glasses. I'm aware that wasn't a good enough car. I know if Charles had got past Lando, at some point Lando was going to get him back.
Yeah,
I wasn't stupid enough to believe, but it added to the excitement of the race because let's be honest, it got a bit dull because all three championship rivals. I mean, the problem was Piastri needed to win, and unfortunately, there's only one winner in a race, and there was nobody getting near Max today at all, as we've said. But they did everything they could, and they did everything right, and so someone had to spice this race up. And lo and behold, for once this season on this podcast, right, I'm going for it. Ferrari were the team that spiced it up. Hamilton, I know he started too far back. He made a mistake in qualifying. He complained. He got upset. He apologised to the team. He delivered today from where he was to where he ended up. He shouldn't be starting there. There's so many things I could rant about as being wrong, but I'm being positive today for once. It's nearly Christmas.
You were probably I said it before, race pace-wise, it was either you or Max. Red Bull didn't have that race pace, and of course they're going to give everything that they could give to Max today.
Yeah.
But, Red Bull didn't have that race pace. McLaren didn't really have that race pace. But again, it would have been really interesting. Two things I wish we'd have got to see, but I don't think my insides would have taken it. One would have been Leclerc getting Norris. The second would have been, if that had happened and then Leclerc started to pull away from Norris, what does Oscar Piastri do? Because Zach Brown said in the week that they would have deployed team orders if it needed it. And I think that makes sense. I know they've been very strict with papaya rules all season, but if Norris was fourth, Leclerc third, Piastri second, what would they have got Piastri to do? Because you run the risk then of just giving it to Max. Not even, you know what I mean? Not trying to. It would have been Max in that instance. So it would have been really interesting to see. I bet McLaren are over the moon that they didn't have to pull that though.
All right, moving on from that. And by the way, we're discussing things because let's be honest, the main story is Lando Norris is world champion. The race wasn't great. It was good. It wasn't great.
Yeah.
And you're always going to like this one because of the outcome. And I think, no, hear me out. And I liked it because let's be honest, my team actually did the only bit of overtaking from the entire race. So let's discuss that because we're starting too far back again. But that's again story of the. But I've forgotten where I was going with this now. No, it's completely gone.
You were going to continue to turn a Lando Norris world champion story into a Ferrari.
No. I'm being honest here. He drove incredibly, Lando Norris. He did. He did everything right. He put himself in the position that this race, all he had to do was third, and he got third. I think I'd have loved it if Piastri had let Leclerc through. If Leclerc had got Norris and then sat in front of Norris, just to have seen your face for a bit.
There was moments, I said this to you before, just before we started recording, there was moments when Leclerc was catching him and I thought, all I could think about was you. And I knew, the minute you came on screen, I thought, obviously he's got that hat on. Because I knew, if you'd have come on with that hat on, and it would have been, we would have been talking about Max Verstappen as a 5-time world champion, then your Christmas card would have been put in a bin. Your yeah, I mean, I was going to say your Christmas card present would have been put in the bin, but I ain't got you one because you've got that. So. But anyway, so all I was going to move on to say is just, and I do want to just a brief moment of Lando loving because I think he absolutely deserves it. On YouTube, on this video, which I hope will get a good number of views, but on this video, I am going to admit right now what I admitted to Phil via text when the race finished. I cried, and I am not entirely sure that I was going to actually be able to speak on this because, and then I got fine, and then I saw him hugging his mum and dad, and then I cried again, and I'll probably cry later again because there's been the one on Lando Norris, and we touched on this a couple of weeks ago when we said is he a McLaren legend? I think he is now. Most races in McLaren has a world championship to boot now. 2 constructors, obviously. I think two
constructors. Hang on. I'm calling you out on that purely because I think Lando Norris is worth more than that. Because every time McLaren win the constructors. In fact, every time the Constructors has been won recently, it's because the team that wins it has the spaceship, okay? No, and hear me out. The McLaren with Hamilton and... Jesus. The McLaren, we'll start again, with Hakkinen and Coulthard was a rocket ship. No one could get near that damn thing. It was just the fact that Schumacher was godlike that brought it to any form of, So there was 2 championships. There was 2 constructors there. That doesn't make Coulthard a legend. His own performance. No. What I'm saying is his own performances do, and that's what makes Lando Norris a McLaren legend. Yeah, constructors. It just means that you cheated all season. What Lando deserves. No, I'm standing up for Lando here. You should be congratulating me.
I haven't said anything negative about him. All I'm saying is that when it comes
constructors, that means nothing. That just means that the race car is a spaceship.
I'm talking about when it comes to looking back on his roll of honour, you're going to have a drivers' championship, and you're going to have 2 constructors. Like he won 2 constructors' championships with them. I'm not saying that. Yeah, I agree with you that the constructors isn't really a great deal, and I'm hoping that the new regs next season actually make the constructors a little bit tighter, and we actually go back to 3 or 4 teams because we keep toying with the idea that it'll be that. But anyway, going back to Lando Norris, I think he's been in a car so many times. How many times have we seen that McLaren finish? We've talked about them nearly going into bankruptcy. I remember the start of the 23 season where Bahrain, I think they finished 14th and 17th, the first race of the season, and just thinking, this kid is a very, very talented driver, and this is what we're giving him. And Piastri also fits that boot too, that we had a terrible, terrible car. And fair play to him. I'm over the moon. I first fell in support of Lando one Silverstone, where we saw him at F2. And he's the first F2 graduate to win the Formula 1 World Championship.
That's because the most talented Formula 2 driver ever is aligned to Ferrari. That's why he's the first one. Jesus. I'm not buying anything. Yeah, well done, Lando. You've got given a good car for once. Feel like Porsche. Picking up what you said, though, I do worry that Leclerc's going to end up an early guy.
Do you know what? And I hate I called it well before we did this, and I almost hate myself because he's a better driver than that. But I think he'll leave Ferrari because he'll finally get fed up of it. He'll go and join something like Adrian Newey, Aston Martin. I'm not saying next season, obviously, but something like that. And then that'll be when Ferrari have finally got their head around the new regs. I just feel like Charles Leclerc, everything seems to be conspiring against him, unfortunately.
Fernando Alonso-esque, you'd say, wouldn't you? Barring his 2 championships at Renault, the way he chased success and didn't quite get... I can see the limit. Anyway, it is not a Charles Leclerc day, it's a Lando Norris day. Well done, Lando Norris. It was a superb drive this weekend. It was enough. And I know that sounds like a really negative statement, but all the drivers do enough. F1 drivers and champions throughout the years have delivered enough when they've had to. And that is the sign of a true champion. I am not taking anything away. What I will say, though, because you mentioned Kimi Antonelli before, and I feel like I have to address something. This channel was set up at the start to review races, and it's evolved like things do. There's been a lot of upgrades to this ship that we call VFL, and it's become a little bit tongue in cheek now. We still try and review it, but we deliver it properly. And I joked last weekend about Kimi Antonelli having a brand new McLaren on his drive. I stand by that joke because it is a joke, all right? I didn't believe for 1 second that Kimi Antonelli pulled over and let a Mercedes customer through, because firstly, that's really bad for Mercedes. But to see that he's got death threats and stuff, I just want to approach that. I did not in any way threaten, and I know no one's accused of it, but it's a sad moment. It's a sad moment.
That's too far, and I suppose sometimes fair play for bringing it up, because I think sometimes we have to also accept that we're on the social media platform, and you're right. None of us have actually said anything derogatory towards Kimi Antonelli, but look, I would like to think that anybody who views our videos is in agreement with us that to send an 18, 19-year-old kid, whatever he is, death threats because of something like that is absolutely abhorrent. Yeah, and I agree with Toto Wolff. It's you're an idiot if you think that that's true. And to be fair to GP Lambiasso as well, he also did come out and say straight away that he didn't. It was just sort of said in the heat of the moment. And they're fine. It's the keyboard warriors on social media that have then gone through and followed that out. That's the bigger problem for me. The people who are faceless. I agree. We do have a couple of things also to box off before we finish for the season. So Ant v Phil has ended. And I am honest, I lose. I cannot believe I've thrown this away.
I thought we drew.
No,
I thought that was a draw.
We were down to the final. Oh, yeah, you're right. Sorry, you're right. No, because we agreed it was 0-0. We thought we were drawing. We agreed it was 0-0. So I lose. How I've done that when at one point I think I had like a 6-2 lead, I have absolutely no idea. I lose. So next week we will be filming the. I will tell you about it in a minute. What's coming up next week? But when we film next week, I will be donned with a lovely Nigel Mansell for everybody, and that's But congratulations to you, Phil, for winning Ant v Phil this season. But if you offered me the Drivers' Championship or Ant v Phil at the start of the year, I think I know which one I'd have taken.
Snap, to be honest with you, but there was no chance of that one for me, was there? So I'll take the small victories. I suppose we need to go on to what people can hope to see whilst... I mean, we'll run this short because obviously we've done a lot of talking today already, but coming up, at least this side of New Year as well, we've got some massive things, and we've got some big things before the season returns as well. One of them includes our good friend and former lover, DT Collette. I wasn't supposed to say the lover.
Former lover?
Well, yeah, he only goes for the champions. Ever since I said that about Russell, he's turned me down. So, in no particular order, but coming up next week first. See what I did there?
So we
have the VFL Awards, the end of season award, the things that are slightly more important than Lando Norris's World Championship.
Although we will have a laugh. So we do have some absolutely cracking awards. We will have driver of the season. We will have rookie of the season. We'll have the standard stuff that you want to see, but we will also have some absolutely lovely ones sprinkled in there, like the Lance Stroll moment of the year, which will be given to the most stupid crash of the year. We will also have the George Russell moment of the year. Phil has struggled to find some nominations for that one in particular. I can tell you that much. But we will, yeah. So we will be doing that next week. We'll be filming it next week, and it will be released over 2 weekends. So that'll be just before Christmas for you. We've got some other stuff coming up. We've got Phil's Christmas message, which will be with you on Christmas Day. So that one is one to look forward to. We're also going to try and put together a little bit of a highlight show of everything in our first year for 2025, and then into the new year. Like Phil says, we'll obviously be following along with all the pre-season testing. We will be right back here for the Australian Grand Prix. We will be here. We will be again putting out another one of these videos. We also have Phil Explains. So just explain what Phil Explains is, Phil.
What we are gonna do, and this was a suggestion that Phil came up with, but we thought we'd jump on it. Is we're gonna do little short videos, kind of a minute long, explaining the bits that. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm talking down to people. I'm not the genius of F1. I just enjoy a bit of the techie stuff. So we're going to go through things like the tyre compounds. Phil explains the tyre compounds. Pit stop strategies, maybe a 1 minute video on the undercut, overcut, what that means depending on the tyres. Little things like safety car rules, maybe, start rules, anything anyone wants to know, pretty much. We were going to do DRS, but that's already been thrown out.
Yeah, there's no point in that one now.
Yeah, so, I don't know. We might do a McLaren special that is, the planks under the car, and how you don't wear them down too much.
So if anybody wants to see anything particular in that new series of Phil Explains, please leave a comment in the comment. But for us, please stick with us. Like I say, during the Christmas break and the winter break, we will be back when the season carries on, but we will be filling your YouTube with stuff in the meantime. And to everybody who's followed, the last time I checked, we were up to nearly 8,000 views on the channel. So thank you so much to everybody who's stuck with us. Please don't leave us through the winter whilst we have some stuff on. This is a shameless plug. Stick with us. There will be other content coming through over the winter period. But for us, for this week, stick around for the VFL Awards next week and go check out DT Collects as well, like Phil says. But for us, Lando Norris is your 2025 FIA Formula One World Champion. I had to finish on that note. Congratulations to Lando Norris. Congratulations to Max for the win today. Congratulations to McLaren for winning the Constructors. And I will see you with my Tom Selleck next week. As for us, bye-bye.